So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Stock up and save big on shoes, tops, dresses, accessories, and more must-haves for summer. Join the Nori Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into episode 557 of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. I am Sam Dykstra. A little different intro this week. Tyler Mon, usually the host of the show, one of the three co-hosts, honestly, but he's always our captain. Star of the show is currently traveling to Europe. I believe he's already touched down over there for many baseball-related things, including Honkball Week in the Netherlands and Prague Baseball Week over there in the Czech Republic and Czechia. But with Tyler in transit, you're stuck with me and Benjamin Hill, who is joined here to my left.
Oh, yeah, that used to be our thing.
Yeah, that's a throwback of introducing where we are in relation to the mic.
Yeah, that was for years. Sitting to my left, sitting to my right is one Benjamin Hill. I am one Benjamin Hill. There are other Benjamin Hills out there, but I am one of them. And yeah, it's nice to be here on a Tylerless. We are working tirelessly to bring you a Tylerless.
I think you had it. If you just let it go, you would have gotten there. And one thing we should point out, Tyler is always editing these. So if you are hearing the episode, it's because he slapped it together in the edit. And we always put our voices in his hands with these. Like he could edit us to say anything right now. I hope he's not, but he really could.
Tyler, go for it. If you want to put some words in my mouth, string some things together, I'll own it.
See, that's why we can never do those intros when I'm away, where you guys are making up stories about me and my background and, mostly telling fibs. Mostly.
Yeah, making up stories / bringing things to light we think the public should know. You say tomato, I say tomato.
We do that with Tyler, and then it's just never going to see the light of day, and it gets left on the cutting room floor. So we're not going to do that this week, but we do have tons to talk about in relation to minor league baseball, both on and off the field, as we do every week here on the Show Before the Show. So let's start, as we always do, with Ben's Biz Banter presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. Your last road trip took you through various stops like Chattanooga with a new ballpark. You also went to Asheville, which isn't a new ballpark, but they renovated it plenty. And you brought a story to us here and to your upcoming newsletter from Asheville about how, I think when I think of like the renovations they did, and you're like, oh, they put a new coat of paint. They literally did that in this case through some murals by Asheville painter Amar Stewart. What can you tell us about him and his story?
Yeah, I met Amar when I visited the Asheville Tourists last month. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but their longtime home of what was formerly known as McCormick Field. It opened in 1924. It is now called Home Trust Park. That corporate naming was done in conjunction with a extensive renovation project that took place prior to the 2026 season. And definitely one of the first things you'll notice when you get to the ballpark is there are a lot of murals on the walls, featuring the tourist logo, word marks, things related to their history. And the place really pops, and there's a lot of color on those walls. And a lot of those murals, if you've ever been to Asheville, it's a brick exterior, and the concourse is on, the outside of the exterior of the ballpark. It's an old ballpark. It was built 102 years ago. No open concourses or walkways where you can see the game. You go out of your seat, go behind the ballpark for the concourse. Those brick walls have murals all over them. It was done by a guy named Amar Stewart. And when I was visiting Asheville, I was tipped to his story that he had an interesting one. So I've got an article on him. And just in brief, he grew up in the UK, about an hour and a half north of England, became a self-taught artist after operating a streetwear store where he was kind of inspired by the art on the clothes he was selling. Moved to New York, gained quite a lot of attention for a series of paintings he did that were collectively titled Hip Hop Royalty, which featured hip hop icons like Tupac and Biggie and many others, drawn in the style of like 16th century Dutch oil paintings. So really made a name for himself in the art world. Then he was diagnosed with tongue cancer, a horrible thing to go through. Had his tongue removed, like muscles from his legs. Somehow, I do not understand what doctors
We
do,
we are
but
not doctors in that
yeah,
way.
but like some serious surgery, lost his ability to speak, had some further operations to regain that. You definitely know in talking to him, uh, deeply affected, but resumed being an artist and eventually moved to Asheville. And he's the guy who designed or who painted these murals on the wall in Asheville. So if you go to a game there, see those murals. I think it might be interesting. Or even if you don't go to a game there, to know the story of the artist who did them. There's so many people involved in ballpark construction or ballpark renovations that really bring it to life, doing so many different types of jobs. I mean, I think this Asheville Tourist renovation probably collectively involved something like 400 people doing one job or another. And sometimes it's fun to isolate those stories. And as the certainly not the cherry on top, it's a bad thing. But on top of all the biography of Amar Stewart I just provided, he fell off a painting one of the murals. He was almost done the job. There's 19 murals around the ballpark, and he fell off a 21-foot extension ladder and had to have his friends from the Asheville arts community, it's a great art scene in Asheville, help finish the job after he broke his pelvis and cracked his head open falling off a ladder. So you see those murals, think a lot went into it by a guy with a really interesting backstory. And, those stories are everywhere. When you look at art, when you look at anything, who did that? Why? What's their story? That's what I like about all this.
Yeah.
You can use minor league baseball as a canvas to talk about anything.
Canvas. Look at that.
There you go.
Well, no, one thing I love about it too is that I think in terms of ballparks in general, minor league or major league, we talk about them as architecture, but they are art in their own ways in terms of how they are formed and what stories they are trying to tell. And incorporating art in that way, even more specifically, I think is a really special opportunity for teams. I would love to see more teams do this. I bring it up often. I grew up going to Pawtucket Red Sox games, and the murals at McCoy were like a big deal. I don't
Yeah.
think they were as artistic as what Amar Stewart's doing, but I think that's the next step in that. It was a big deal to find out who got a mural and what story, like what legends came through Pawtucket by looking at those murals. It's how I learned a lot about Pawtucket history. So, would love to see this become more of a movement for anybody else who is either renovating a ballpark or coming up with a new ballpark. Maybe borrow this idea from Asheville and Amar Stewart. Tyler, Tyler's not on the show. I'm so used to bringing him up.
Yeah.
Ben, moving on to Springfield, Missouri here, who I think we've featured a lot on the show so far this season.
We were talking identity, the snipe hunters fairly recently, going off an old tall tale that told the kids that we're going on a snipe hunt. Anyway, we talked about that. We talked about the fact that their ballpark is now Route 66 Stadium, renaming tied in with the 100th anniversary of Route 66 celebrations going on now. And that's a real interesting story there. And I got another one from Springfield. It's the year of the Springfield Cardinals. And that, of course, is Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah, they keep giving us stuff to talk about, and we'll gladly eat it up and give it to you guys here on the podcast. But this one turns to a Cardinals super fan who is from the Ozarks region. So that's the tie-in with the Springfield, Missouri Cardinals, but also was a super fan, and that a lot of people knew him as the sign man. That's Marty Prather, who passed away in September at just the age of 67. But the Springfield finding a way to honor him here now in 2026. How is that?
Yeah, this is the guy, the sign man, Marty Prather. He lived in Springfield, Missouri for pretty much his whole adult life. He owned and operated a lot of Domino's franchises in Springfield and the greater Ozarks region. But way back in 1985, he and a friend, were swept up in enthusiasm for that year's World Series, rooting for the Cardinals against the local rivals, essentially Kansas City Royals. And Marty decided to go to a game wearing a tuxedo, and his friend wearing tuxedos, and Marty held up a sign that said, "The fat lady is singing." This was towards the end of the World Series, kind of saying like, "Royals, you're done. It's over. The fat lady is sung." That was on the national broadcast. He got a lot of attention for it, and he was like, "You know what? I'm on to something." So over the ensuing 4 decades, Marty brought signs to sporting events, throughout the Ozarks region, the state of Missouri. He was best known for the Cardinals. He loved Ozzie Smith, but he would make signs related to all sorts of different players. Missouri State University or Missouri State Athletics. I think he was a Bengals fan as well. Anyway, he was all over, and he went to Springfield Cardinals games, and in addition to living there. So this past Friday, June 12th, the Springfield Cardinals gave away Marty the Sign Man bobbleheads, where he's holding up a sign, that says, the Sign Man. And they had a sign making station on the concourse with fans making their own signs and holding them up throughout the ball game. Marty's friends and family there, some of whom brought, signs from Marty's personal collection of signs that he had held up at the ballpark. So just one of those quirky minor league stories of honoring a local legend. And by all accounts, it seems like a guy who just had a real zest for life, a good sense of humor, never took himself too seriously, and made himself known in the sporting community. He's the only fan inducted into the Missouri Hall of Fame, the Missouri State Hall of Fame, whatever it is, the
Sports Hall of Fame.
Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. He's the only fan in there, and that shows the kind of impact he had. So, we like those local stories and learning about. I'm sure if you're a Cardinals fan, you probably know about this guy, even if you didn't know his name. You're like, oh, that guy. We saw him on TV all the time. But cool to see these people celebrated, and that's what minor league baseball is all about.
Yeah, that original 1985 sign that you mentioned just makes me think of the sequels that people have made, which one of my favorites is, I think it was from the '04 ALCS. The fat lady has laryngitis.
Yeah, there you go.
Many people trying to imitate the sign man, but there can only be one sign man. So good on the Springfield Cardinals for creating a bobblehead of a local legend. We've talked about plenty of those over the years of, it doesn't need to be a player or a former alum or former manager. You need to just honor somebody in the community. And I think that gets a lot of really good local response, as this one seemed to do here in Springfield last Friday. All right. So I'm going to have you say this one. It seems like teams are leaning in to the fact that baseball happens in the summer. We think about Louisville, who's doing the humidity, right?
Yeah, they debuted last weekend. Louisville bats.
It's around that time.
Yeah,
where you are starting to feel the summer. It's not officially summer yet, but that is right around the corner from when you guys are hearing this. And that now extends to the Mississippi Mud Monsters, who are our friends. A lot of people who used to work with the Mississippi Braves there in Pearl, Mississippi, now work for the Mississippi Mud Monsters. They're finding their own way to honor the summer. What has that been? I'm gonna make you say it. I'm not gonna be the one to say it.
The Mississippi Mud Monsters, our pal. I love this. They play in the Frontier League, an independent league, and there's two things about this promo that I don't think it would happen in in the affiliated baseball. One, I think it's part of a recurring series of promos called Swamp Ass Saturday. So, why not? Thirsty Thursday, Swamp Ass Saturday. And for one of these recent Saturday games, they wore shorts on the field. And I believe that that's the first time a professional team has worn shorts as part of their uniform since those
since the White Sox,
infamous
right?
White Sox in the 70s. I do not believe it has happened since then, or if it has, it has happened very sparingly. These shorts almost look like the kind of bathing suits I wore as a kid, like real colorful patterns. And when there's a jersey, theme jerseys are worn, often you'll see it advertised as you can auction it off the player's back after the game. You bid on the jerseys, and then the player takes it off and gives it to the winning fan. So these were advertised, these Mississippi Mud Monsters shorts that they wore in a game. It was advertised as you can auction them off the player's behind. Take a pair of game used shorts right home with you. Sam, you're having reservations.
I'm having reservations because I would hope they would at least go into the clubhouse and be washed.
Yeah, but then you lose,
you lose getting them off their behind. I get it.
And what is this world without authenticity?
Yeah.
And the laundry removes just a little bit of that authenticity. We need the real as much as we can get.
Yeah. And, God bless any of the Mud Monsters who decided to slide into second base in that one wearing those shorts.
Yeah.
Might not have been a lot of stealing opportunities in that one. Yeah. We'll just put it that way.
Cannot imagine the players were necessarily fans, but there's some good pictures online of them hamming it up and looking like they're having a good time. We'll see.
whatever you can do to break up the monotony of the season, I suppose. All right, we'll move one other one here in Las Vegas. We head now to the west side of the country. The Vegas headliners, an alternate identity in Sin City. This feels like one that I don't know. It almost feels like it's existed before, but I haven't seen it. Headliners obviously tying into just I think like Rat Pack era of people swinging through and their names being in big lights, and here come see them. But what else can you tell us about the Las Vegas headliners?
Yeah, I mean, one, here we are deep in June, and we still have new alternate identities for this season being released. And I believe that this Las Vegas Aviators suiting up as the headliners is coming up very soon. And yeah, it's Vegas, baby. I mean, the Rat Pack artists, still to this day, A-list artists have long residencies in Vegas. It's the entertainment capital of the world. It's a city of headliners. So the Aviators have announced this headliners alternate identity. Not long after Vegas baseball was essentially a headliner with that crazy major league games at the Aviators ballpark, which I think showed with very good reason why they maybe didn't want to have the Major League Athletics play at the Aviators ballpark while they're waiting for the new ballpark in Vegas to be built, because the sort of offense that goes on at that ballpark is
Yeah,
out of control.
as we got to see in the major leagues.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that Major League Series at the Aviators ballpark was that was a full home season of Major League Baseball at that ballpark? It helps to contextualize some of these scores you get from the Pacific Coast League, not just in Vegas, but other places, when it's just every day it seems to be like 14-8, 11-6, 19-7, like every day in that league. But I digress. Vegas is still, for the most part right now, from a baseball perspective, a minor league town, the home of the Las Vegas Aviators, and they will be playing as the headliners. And the primary logo has a silhouette from the back of a nightclub crooner. I'd say it's kind of you got a little bit of Sammy Davis Jr.
A little bit.
there. So this is going for the old school Rat Pack kind of Vegas look. And the microphone that he's singing into has baseball seams on the microphone. So a little baseball touch. But will there be another new alternate identity for the 2026 season? There still might be, but we're already deep into June.
I feel like there's always something around the corner. That's how they keep us on our toes. All right, and then finally, the day this episode is coming is Juneteenth this year, and that is something that is being honored and celebrated throughout minor league baseball. Between various Negro League teams being honored and throwing it back that way, or celebrating local Black history. Just take us a rundown through some of the ones that stand out to you most.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this weekend. In some cases on Juneteenth itself, on some cases just throughout the weekend. But a few things to keep in mind that are happening in minor league baseball this weekend, Juneteenth weekend. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but the Augusta Green Jackets are playing as the Soul for the first time, celebrating Augusta's music scene, the soul music. James Brown grew up in Augusta and in the region. Sharon Jones, a more recent soul superstar from that city. So they're having their soul weekend coming up. And if you ever do visit Augusta, there is a James Brown statue in the downtown, I think worth visiting if you happen to be in Augusta, Georgia. Gwinnett is yet again playing as the Black Crackers. The Atlanta in their pre-major league days had a minor league team called the Crackers, and the Negro League team was called the Black Crackers. And one of the more improbable names in baseball history, but celebrating that history and that legacy, the Atlanta Black Crackers. Did I say the Gwinnett Braves? The Gwinnett Stripers, the AAA Braves affiliate, are having a Black Crackers weekend. This is one I feel like we've talked about at some point, but the Wichita Wind Surge, who, as we talked about last week, are going to be the Turbo Tubs full time in 2027. They're still the Wind Surge, but they are going to be playing this weekend as the Monrovians, a Negro League team that one of the things that was notable about the Monrovians is they played a ball game against the Ku Klux Klan in 1925 and won. That just seems like a crazy
So
concept
much.
all around. But this team played a KKK organized, Ku Klux Klan organized team and beat them. And you can learn more about that if you do go to a Wichita Wind Surge, soon to be Turbo Tubs game. There's a baseball museum on site that has quite a lot related to the Monrovians. And they were named in honor of Monrovia, the capital of Liberia, the country in Africa that was founded as a place for Black people to go and live and start their own, free society. So it was kind of speaking to a larger dream of Black people at that time when there was still, far more Jim Crow and far more, government enacted segregation going on. So there's just a lot of history in all these. And this one I thought was interesting as well. The Rochester Red Wings are giving away a bobblehead of Tom Alston. He was the first Rochester Red Wing player who was Black. This was the Red Wings go back, many, many years. So it took until 1954 for there to be a first Red Wing. And the reason it took until 1954, I mean, outside of much larger societal reasons, is the Red Wings were a Cardinals affiliate, and they didn't have a Black player until it was Tom Alston in 1954. So in that 1954 season, he had the distinction of being both the first Black player in Rochester Red Wings history, as well as with the St. Louis Cardinals that year. And I was reading up on him a little bit earlier today, and what he went through playing, dealing with the racism and segregation and feeling like an outcast as he tried to advance his career. He had some severe mental health problems, burned down a church at one point, was committed to a mental institution. It seems like he recovered somewhat after that. So his story has a tragic element, but I think it's really cool the Rochester Red Wings are honoring him, and helping to tell his story. And you just think about all throughout minor league baseball, how many stories there are like that in a broad sense, the first ones to do it, and who they were and where they were from and where their careers went from there. So you can break down the story of integrating baseball, in a micro sense, way beyond Jackie Robinson to who was the first players in this specific league on this specific team, and so on and so forth. And there's just so many stories throughout America.
Yeah, no, it's great. And that's, part of the reason why Juneteenth is a holiday is for everybody to learn up on this stuff and learn about how your specific area, who were the first in your area and who were the people who continue to tell those stories and make their own stories worth telling, like the Wichita Monrovians, which, man, that's so cool. I love that. That
could be a movie, right?
There should be a movie. Yeah, maybe we'll write it in tandem with some folks from Wichita. I'm going to file that away for the back of my brain. Well, thanks for this, Ben. I feel like we covered a lot of different things. Pretty much, if you put a pin in the map of everywhere we talked about today, the map would be pretty well held up, all four corners of the country. But yeah, thanks for doing this. We'll talk about some dudes on the other side of the on-field chatter.
All right, we are working tirelessly.
4th of July savings are happening now at the Home Depot with select appliances starting at $398. Plus, get free delivery on appliance purchases of $398 or more, no membership required. Upgrade your kitchen with a modern and sleek GE Profile refrigerator featuring hands-free autofill for the perfect pour every time. And make laundry day easier with 2-in-1 washer-dryer combo innovation that completes laundry in about 90 minutes. Shop top brand appliances now at the Home Depot. Offer valid June 17th to July 8th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
It's a second segment debut for me today. This is so weird. Hey, I'm Tyler Mon. Sam Dykstra has already been on this podcast. Hi, Sam.
Hi, I tried to do my best Tyler Mon impression up top, so you can let me know how I
did. You just like yell
when you edit the show later?
Did you get like a really like, hey folks, how you doing? Did you get one of those in there?
I might have. I'm not sure. I think I just kind of like, again, I was channeling you, and then I blacked out for a bit, and then Ben started talking. So I don't know. We'll have to find out together.
You made it through. That's really that's all that matters. Well, we're moving to on-field conversation here in this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, as the minor league campaign hitting the midway point here over this week and next week. And we've got a lot to talk about. And we're going to kick things off, Sam, with the Milwaukee Brewers and Cooper Pratt, who has made his debut. Got his first big league hit, got his first big league RBI. He's already at 21 years old. Checked those off the old life bucket list. Tell us about the dawn of the Cooper Pratt era in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it was an interesting call up, right? Because Cooper Pratt entered the news early in the season because he signed an extension with the Milwaukee Brewers, 8 years, $50.75 million were the reported figures on that. And it kind of sent everybody, I don't want to say into a tizzy, but it caused a flurry of excitement of like, oh, is Cooper Pratt coming up pretty quick? I mean, this is a guy, like you said, Tyler, only 21 years old. He was a sixth-round pick back in 2023, but was paid basically like a second-round pick. He got a lot of money in the sixth round, and it was a shock that Milwaukee could get him there. I remember on the day in the 2023 draft. Really gifted defender. He won a minor league Gold Glove award at Single A and High A in 2024. The bat, it's more approach based and in terms of like really good in zone contact than it is power. We saw a little bit of that at AAA Nashville, but like when he signed that extension, it was like, okay, either the Brewers are being really savvy here, which is something they do, or they see something in Cooper Pratt to be like, okay, he's our long-term shortstop, which is interesting because they have Jesus Madej coming up behind him right now at AA Biloxi. And anyway, so it seemed to at least start the clock. Now that discussion was, very early in the season. Now we sit here mid-June. That's when they decide to bring him up. And I think a big part of that was you look at the Brewers on the whole, very successful season so far. They're doing what the Brewers do. Everybody underestimates them. They get, homegrown products that are performing really well, like Jacob Mizorowski, who's now just a straight up superstar, not even on the boundary of superstar. Jackson Churio is really clicking into place. A lot of things are running well for the Brewers right now, except for the left side of the infield. Joey Ortiz, who was a former top 100 prospect in his own right, continues to be exceptional defensively, but the bat isn't there. Luis Rengifo, who they played a lot at third base, really wasn't cutting it. He actually ended up being DFA'd to make room for Cooper Pratt. Now, Cooper Pratt's numbers at AAA Nashville weren't necessarily stellar. 241 batting average, 349 OBP, 386 slugging percentage. Put that all together, along with 6 homers and 17 steals in 58 games. And his WRC plus at the time of the call-up was plumb average, 100. So he wasn't exactly somebody who had conquered AAA. But I think the Brewers, knowing what they had in Cooper Pratt and the fact that he is so much younger than Joey Ortiz, I think his production might end up being almost very similar to Joey Ortiz, both defensively and offensively. But because he is younger, you have that upside. He needs the at-bats at the major league level to eventually become somebody who hits maybe 12, 15 homers up there, and again, provides solid defense. So they're starting that clock now. They're getting him that runway, hopefully so that he is hitting his stride right by the time the stretch run and they are trying to get over that hump and get into the World Series. We'll see how things go on that. But I think a big part of this was just you look at, you can't keep trotting out Luis Rengifo, who had not hit a homer in 2026. And, Joey Ortiz can slide over to third base, provide some really good defense there himself. They also have David Hamilton moving around the infield. He's a really, really gifted runner. They have some other options, but giving Cooper Pratt somebody you expect there to be there for the long term, and he's somebody who can get his feet wet without hurting the major league team because they've been revolving around all the other positions. It's just really good timing, and it's what the Milwaukee Brewers do, right? They get into a good place, they plug another piece in, and they keep on chugging. So Cooper Pratt up. We'll see what this eventually means for Madej. Like, I think Pratt is probably the better defender. So do you move Madej around to second base, third base? We're recording this on Thursday. He just got involved in a collision Wednesday night. They said via Adam McCalvey, our Brewers reporter, that it was a left quad contusion, so it's not as bad as it looked on tape. But, again, he might be out for just a little bit of time. Does he start moving around a little bit more because Pratt's at the major league level and Madej's somebody you might want to get up there by August? We don't know. We'll see, especially coming off this injury. But it's another thing the Brewers do. They have multiple options at really, really good positions, and Pratt just happens to be the one they're plugging into the major leagues right now.
Man, talk about the I don't even know if you could say necessarily the rich getting richer in terms of just talent, but it's just like the smart getting smarter when it comes to the Brewers pushing guys to the big leagues and getting results out of them. And that leads us to another guy who is moving on up in a different organization, but one that also is playing with a lot of promise and excitement in 2026. And that is Caleb Bonham, who has gone from Winston-Salem to Double-A Birmingham in the White Sox organization, the 43rd overall pick in 2024. His overall numbers this year, the pop has been really impressive. He's stolen 10 bags, but he's got an OPS of over 930. It's been a really fun start to the season for him.
Yeah, he's somebody who's getting pushed aggressively here in his age 20 season. Like you said there, Tyler, he started out the year at high A Winston-Salem, batted 238, but again, batting averages and everything. He had an on-base percentage of 381, a slug of 556. So his WRC plus was 139, 39% better than the average player in that league. 18 homers in 61 games. So that plays exactly what you're talking about with the power. He's somebody we pushed it into our top 15 just because he is so young and he has been hitting the ball as hard as he is. But it's interesting timing for me in terms of them sending him to Double A. Because we've talked about this for a long time. Traditionally, the jump from high A to Double A is the biggest within the minors. Now I think the jump from Triple A to the majors is almost as big. But Double A, that's where you see guys with better command. You're going to run into guys with some major league experience. It's not just your cohorts, some young players, some high upside types. It's some well-rounded pitchers that you're going to go up against at Double A. And Caleb Bonham, who we were already pretty high on coming into the year, his contact rate last year between Single A and High A was 78.3%. Right now, between High A and Double A, just a couple of games at Double A, it's 67.8. So he's trading contact for power. And is that really going to get exposed in the Southern League? It's very possible. And that could collapse. But he is so young. They clearly want him getting a new challenge. He did walk plenty. Like he was walking 13.7% of the time. So what happens again when he's going up against pitchers with better command? We're going to be working in the zone better control overall. And he can no longer just like take his free passes and keep doing his A swings all the time. Like he's going to have to be better with some of those. I don't want to say swing decisions because swing decisions are pretty good, but you can't be as passive, I guess is more my point. So we'll see. He has only swung the bat 30.8% of the time so far. I will say this. I know I said he might not be as passive. He has been swinging more this year in search of that power. Like last year's swing rate was 38.8. Now it's 44.7. So I think that might lead to some of the more swing and miss in the fact that he is just chasing that power and he's willing to, take a strikeout rate in the high 20s, or in this case, 29.1, if it means you are slugging 550 and you are hitting 18 homers in less than half a year. Again, we'll see how that strategy works out for him. But again, another point too, like we were talking about this with Braden Montgomery when he got called up. The White Sox have done an interesting job at the top level of obviously competing ahead of schedule. And then when they need somebody, they've been able to plug in a prospect. Caleb Bonham is now moving his way up too, and part of that discussion. And they have the number 1 overall pick next month. I mean, and the discussion right now is revolved around 2 other shortstops. I know he's got tons of time at third base as well. So does that more lock him into third base? And Colson Montgomery's obviously doing well. So they've got more options coming. It's a really exciting time to be rooting for that team on the South side.
All right, Sam, we move to the rarefied air of a 4-homer game, which we saw this week from Joshua Baez in the St. Louis Cardinals organization with AAA Memphis. Not often to see 4 homers in a game, but Joshua Baez, I mean, this has been a guy who, he's only 22 years old. It feels like we've been excited about him for a little while. Man, what a way to introduce yourself. If Cardinals fans did not know about him, pretty exciting way to get on board with the Joshua Baez train.
Yeah, and I will say too, right? Like if you are not familiar with him and you are listening to the show, go back into our archives. We talked to Joshua Baez from Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Or from Jupiter, I should say, Jupiter, Florida, where the Cardinals spring training facility is. We talked to him back then about his breakout 2025 season And what has he done now that he's at AAA for the first time and he's on the 40-man roster? He had some struggles early on, but like since May 1st, this is his line: 311 batting average, 360 on base. He is slugging 708 for AAA Memphis. Pretty good. And that's exactly the type of slugger we thought he could be. Yes, he, like Bonnemer, is going to be somebody with a good amount of swing and miss. That's was his MO going into 2025. He ironed out a lot of those issues, became simpler to the ball, let his power really play. And then he has a game the other day, right? Like where he hits 4 home runs in a game. I tuned into that one because I knew he had a couple early, and I'm like, oh, Baez is hitting. Let me check. Literally, the next pitch was gone. And that's just what he's capable of doing. If you dive into the data beyond that, the exit velocities have been really good. The barrels have been really good. His swing, as it stands right now, is geared to pull and lift the ball. So the fact that he already has the strength, the pure strength to hit balls really hard, and then he's doing it at optimal angles, that's how you're going to get all these home runs. I mean, he's hit 17 homers in 38 games. It's a Fetty Wap situation, Tyler. It's a 17-38. 17 homers in 38 games for Memphis since May 1st. And he's already eclipsed what last year's home run total was. He's only played 63 games for Memphis overall, 23 homers. He hit 20 last year. So he's somebody absolutely knocking on the door, similar to the White Sox, right? Like the Cardinals are ahead of schedule right now. They are in position to potentially win a wild card spot in the NL. And a big part of that is Jordan Walker, another top 100 prospect back in the day, who was really succeeding at that level. And Baez is like Walker in that I think they're both perfectly made for right field. So I don't know what the timeline will be on Baez and when he arrives, but if he's doing this, they're going to move up the timeline. They're going to find a spot for him. I know Lars Nootbaar has been discussed as maybe somebody they would trade away, just because, you know, the Cardinals are setting their eyes on the future, go get more prospects, build out the farm system even more, find that next Joshua Baez. Maybe that happens with a Lars Nootbaar trade, but maybe that they do that just because they need to make room for Baez. And if you add another power bat to that lineup, that could be really, really dangerous come August and September. So I feel like we're going to see Joshua Baez in July in the major leagues at some point, because you cannot keep a guy who's slugging above 700 over a significant portion of time at AAA down for too long, especially when he's on the 40-man. So keep an eye out for him. And I think he could hit some absolute bombs in St. Louis.
All right, Sam. Well, we are going to shift to our on-field conversation interview subject this week. WBC guy, Team Italy legend Dante Nori is up this week. Give us a little preview of what we're going to hear from Dante Nori.
Yeah, this is a very WBC heavy conversation, Tyler, because Dante Nori, you know, there were a lot of minor leaguers, a lot of prospects playing in the WBC, but I don't feel like we've been able to touch base with them on this show. So after the dust settled a bit and Italy made what felt like a surprise semifinal run, and Dante Nori playing a big role in that. It was good to check in with him. Like I said last week, I was in AA Reading, just visiting, to talk to Anthony Ianson, who was our guest last week. And since I was there, I wanted to get Nori. Now, I will say he's on the injured list as we speak. When we finished our conversation, I checked in with him. He's like, I'll be fine. He still hasn't been activated yet, but it did not seem like a long-term concern. He's somebody who got off to a very hot start, and we talked about that this year at AA Reading, and has since cooled off. I don't know if that's related to the injury or something else, or the league is adjusting back to him. But the fact that he hit 2 homers in a WBC game, he was the first one, and this is my favorite part of the conversation, he was the first one to try the espresso machine. So you get to find out his reaction to what that's like to be the first one to, take a celebratory shot of espresso in a dugout in a major international competition. And what happened after that, you'll have to tune in for my conversation with Dante Nori.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
All right, Dante, I feel like your 2026 started out differently than a lot of other AA players in the World Baseball Classic with Italy, hitting 400 with 2 homers. Just take me through the process to get onto that team and what the conversations were like.
So it came up in the Fall League. I remember it was like early October. My agent called me and said, hey, Team Italy would like to have you on their team. And right away, I'm like, absolutely. Like, that's something, like, you grow up watching those events and, like, just to represent Team Italia, like, that'd be really, really cool, represent all that. So I was like, absolutely. Filled out, don't even know how long of a form it was to get, like, approved for it.
Right.
Fill that out. Then you have to get the approval from the organization. The Phillies approved it in January, and then off and running we were.
Was that genealogy stuff? Like, did you have to go back into the archives to find as much Italian heritage as you could?
Yeah, we had to go back. We were asking my dad's parents, my mom's parents, like, we had to dig to, you know, you had to bring all that stuff back up. And I met I think the cut was great grandparents, or great grandparents was the cut. So that was it.
All right, nice. And just what was the prep, knowing that you were going to be playing important baseball much earlier than you normally would be?
The prep was honestly kind of the same, you know, just get your work in. We were up there early for the winter camp in early January, so had plenty of time to ramp up. And then, but yeah, kind of stayed the same, just you're already ramped up before then, so kind of kept it the same, simple. Yeah,
and then you have that 2-homer game against Brazil. Take me through that game and, you know, just knowing that is how you debut on that stage.
You know, that was, couldn't put it in words. Still really didn't hit me until like a week later when it happened. But I remember first at bat, I remember each at bat, you know, you go walk, then double. And I remember the first one, knew that one right away. That one felt really good. And it kind of like, after I hit the first one, I was like, wow, like, you know, you got the train beeping at the stadium. You got everyone going nuts, the loud music, you know, get the scoring going. So that was cool. And then the second one was kind of funny. Like, I hit it, don't remember any of it. Just kind of like blacked out. I was like, go. As soon as off the bat, I was like, maybe. And then don't remember anything until I touched home. And that's when I kind of snapped back in. I was like, wow, that just happened. That's 2 bombs.
And then, I mean, you get the whole espresso celebration.
Oh, gosh, yeah. The first
one went viral. I mean, what was it like to go through that?
I remember we were talking, it was Vinny and a couple other guys there talking like, hey, what celebration can we do? We're like, espresso shots, like, absolutely. Right. And I think, like, the last tourney, I think they had maybe 1 bomb. So, like, it was one of those things where, like, okay, let's get something. And I was a test dummy for it. We didn't realize how hot it was going to be and how much it was in it. So that was tough to get down. I remember I took about half of it, and I was like, dang, this burns. So had to take it slow. But, yeah, no, it was unreal. And both those shots hit me at, like, I didn't sleep. Like,
I was going to say, like, how do you play after that?
No.
Or you just playing, like, balls to the wall, I would imagine.
Like, the adrenaline that night still was firing, and then I had jitters until about 5 a.m. So I got roughly 4 hours of sleep that night. But no, it was crazy.
And then, you know, just going back to the Phillies after that experience, I mean, you guys make it to the semifinals, which I think beat a lot of people's expectations. First off, just, you know, what was it like going into that semifinal game, knowing that you guys could, you know, have one of the upsets and make it to the final?
Yeah, I think going into it, like, we knew, like, hey, we're the dark horse here. Like, but in our eyes, like, everyone was saying, like, hey, these guys are, like, they throw us in that bracket. You know, you got USA and Mexico going into it. Right. 2 top 5 teams in the tourney at the time. And they kind of just threw us in the fire. And we're like, all right, like, we took that kind of personal. And we knew as a group, you know, really scrappy group, a couple vets, a couple guys, very young team in a way too. So going into it, you know, you come out, you beat, you had to win the first 2, Brazil and Great Britain, win that, put yourself in a good spot against USA when we went up 8-0. So we were 1 swing away from run ruling, which would have been crazy. But then, you know, PCA hits a 3-run bomb, he hits another bomb, all of a sudden we're right back in it. But get that one, and then Vinny helps with his 3-home run game against Mexico, which that was unreal as well. You win the pool, and then that momentum just kind of carried over. You know, go up against Puerto Rico. I think we were the 1 seed going into it, which was kind of cool. We were the 1 seed, so we had that momentum going into it. Beat Puerto Rico, and now it's the first time Team Italy's ever been in the Final Four. And then, in my opinion, we had them beat 2-0, and then, you know, they scrapped across a couple 2-out runs, and that was that.
That's just how baseball goes in single elimination format like that.
Oh, yeah.
But what was your takeaway from that experience in terms of yourself? I mean, just being on that stage, you are a guy with no major league experience going with Vinny and so many other guys, the MLB level. What did you learn about yourself through that?
The moment never got too big. I'd say it felt like any other ordinary game. Like, I remember I was talking to people from Michigan high school, they reviewed about it, and I was just saying, like, hey, this is no different than playing Salem, who was in our conference on a Wednesday afternoon. Like, it kind of felt the exact same, you know. Like, the only time I really felt it was I called time. I remember, like, the ninth inning, dudes throwing the 100 in the Venezuela game. There was, like, 2 strikes, and that's when I was kind of like, I remember I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to call time, and all of a sudden it erupts, and, like, the ground's kind of shaking. But no, moment never got too big. Just stay really calm, and also playing left field. Haven't played left field that much in professional career, so playing out there. But yeah, never got way too big, and just baseball at the end of the day.
Is there still a group chat or anything going amongst those guys and staying in touch?
We have a team one like it was on WhatsApp. I think we had one that was popping for a little bit, but then no, kind of simmered down. But yeah, I still keep in touch, especially with Antonacci gets called up, Morbido got called up, and then Cags, I still talk to him about sports cards every now and then. So no, we still text.
There you go. All right. Well, there's one quote I wanted to read to you from A-Rod after having watched it play. You may have seen it already, but it's, I've had 2 general managers tell me I wish he played on our team because he would bat lead off and play every single day. This is a future star, Dante Nori. Do not forget the name. What is your reaction to hearing that from A-Rod?
It's kind of felt fake in a way. You know, you saw that, and you know A-Rod and what he's done in his career, and you're just like, wow. So for him to say those words, it was something truly special, and will not take those for granted. It was absolutely awesome.
And how much momentum did that create for you in the first month here in Reading? Because you were batting 300 for much of April.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the momentum carried in, and then, you know, it felt like everything was falling, and then you know how baseball works. You start getting that little rough patch where stuff's not falling, you know, hitting stuff right at people and just trying to work it out there. But no, the momentum definitely carried.
How do you feel like Eastern League pitchers have adjusted to you in May, and you know, how do you have to adjust back?
You know, I feel like seeing a lot more off speed. I think definitely in the off speed here compared to the past 2 levels, breaking balls and all that are a lot better. I think it's definitely the biggest jump in the minors. So just learning off that, and just I think came out a little too aggressive. They're learning that, so throwing stuff outside zone, just simmer back into the hunting pitches you can drive.
How do you work on that exactly? Like in pregame, do you guys have like traject machine, or is it working on, you know, in cage work? How do you do that?
Definitely in the cage work. You know, you have your routine, you go through stuff, just try and keep it as simple as possible, and also don't get into swing mode and BP, like take the balls, hit the strikes. So just working on that.
Yeah, and you mentioned your dad's side of the family being so athletic. I mean, your grandfather recruiting Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
I mean, just what is it like seeing him every year in Clearwater? Like, do you guys still have that relationship? Or how does that go?
There's a picture of us. I remember it was like his freshman year at IU, and I'm wearing the jersey that goes down to my ankles and pants that you just do not fit, and I'm playing catch him on the warning track out there. So I've known him for quite some time, and then up till I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we started working out in the wintertime. I'll go up there and start working out with him. So we've had that relationship for a while, and then, you know, you get drafted by the Phillies and like, could be teammates right here. So that was really funny to see. But then, yeah, it's also like we're really close. You know, that's someone I can go up to at any time and talk. He's a great guy to have, and great shortly, you know, especially with my first big league spring training this year.
What was his biggest piece of advice?
Biggest piece of advice? Probably just play the game. You know, it's easy to feel like a lot of people say that. Just play the game. Like, don't try to do too much. Be Dante Nori. Be you. Don't try. You don't owe nobody nothing. Like, you don't got to prove this. You don't prove that. Like, you got here, now just use what you have.
Yeah, and then also with your dad's experience, basketball is a different sport, obviously, but it is the highest level of basketball. What does he tell you about getting to that level and what it's like to stick at that level?
The one thing he's always told me, and it's always stuck with me, is I have no what ifs. And basically, like, don't sit there after your career's done and be like, what if I worked harder? What if I hit more? What if I did this more? Like, have no what ifs and give it your all, so that way when it's all said and done, you're satisfied.
Yeah, because you were technically born in Canada?
Yeah.
Did Canada like sniff around at the WBC at all? Or?
No, they actually did not reach out at all. So, but I lived there was born there, and I moved out, I think, like a few months. So
yeah, I was going to say, technically, yeah, we were talking about best Canadian prospects, and your name came up because technically born in. Yeah. So do you remember? You wouldn't remember anything about that.
I don't remember anything of that. But then when he was with the Raptors, we always go visit, so I still remember like the practice facilities and like the apartments he lived in. So a little bit.
Yeah, and then. I mean, your dad has worked with just so many superstars. I think about like Ant Edwards. Like, it's one thing to watch him be athletic out there, but what do you take away from watching somebody like that?
I mean, yeah, he's a freak. Like, it's the most explosive athlete I've ever seen in my entire life. So, you know, you see the way he takes care of his business. Like, he's one of the top 5 players in the NBA, and personally, I'd say he's number 1. You know how that goes. But yeah, no, he's in there. When I go there, I'm always in there at like 5 a.m. lifting before they're all done. They're before they get in because I'm on their time. So you respect that.
Right.
But as soon as I'm done, he's one of the first ones in. So, like, no matter what level you're at, the work, he never stops. He always wants more, and especially Anthony, that's just how he's always been. And then, like, with players, too, like, I could rattle off so many. Like, prime DeMarcus Cousins with the Sacramento Kings, Vince Carter when he was with the Raptors, you know, all that. And then learning from my mom taught the Curry brothers U.S. history.
Oh, really?
Which was really cool because they were in Canada with their dad, and they didn't teach U.S. history there. My mom was a teacher, so we have a really good relationship with them. And just, you know, you just learn so much. I can go on and on about all the players and all I've learned from them.
What have you learned about, like, what translates in just top athletes? Because, you know, shooting a three is different than hitting a home run.
Yeah.
But there's still a mindset over there.
I think just the way you go about your business, you know, like the way we handle it here, you get all your work in, prepare yourself just for the game. Like, get all your stuff in, prepare yourself, and do your best in the game. And I think that's at every sport and every level. Like, you see how they're in there, shoot around 10 hours before the game is. They play at night, they're in there in the morning, get around, shoot around. Players have their workouts. Like, everyone goes around about their business the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then coming from Michigan, cold weather state, I mean, when you're going on the national beats, you're going up against Texas, Florida, California. What was it like just trying to prove yourself?
It was cool, and I know with the Canes, like that group, you know, USA Prime, the teams that we had, like, you solidified, you put yourself with the best, and then going up against the best, like, it's kind of easy because, you know, like, it was easy because you were surrounded by such great teammates and such good players. So, sure. You know, it just kind of set you up for good.
And your grandfather, was he both in the Cubs and the Mets system?
Just the Mets, I believe.
Okay.
Made the AAA with the Mets.
Okay. So what did he tell you about minor league baseball? I know it's very different then from what it is now, but
I'm not even gonna lie, I haven't really talked to him about that much, but yeah, you know, definitely way different, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Well, even just his experience working with college baseball players, like how much were you talking about him about that when you were going through the process yourself?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Just when you were going through the process of maybe going to college, maybe going to pro, how much were you talking to him about what college baseball experience is like and just upper level baseball in general?
Yeah, I was talking to them, my dad, and then especially Lamonis too. So with Mississippi State, and just talking to them like, hey, what will it take to, like, get you from leaving college baseball to go play professional? I remember Lamonis, I think it was like the top, look at it pick wise, it was like top 70 something. You know, you fell in that category. Maturity, I felt like, I was taking care of myself. My mom was always with my sister, my dad was always on the road, so the taking care of yourself and being on your own really wasn't a problem. So mainly just maturity. Hey, is this lining up? Just make sure all the pieces line up.
Yeah, and at what point did you realize, like, oh, I am going pro here?
I think it was junior summer. I had a really good junior summer, and then you see your name start getting put on these boards, kind of just talked about, and then you have your senior season, did well there, so then all of a sudden it was just like, it was kind of funny, like, as the draft got closer, it was like more and more like, hey, you're going to go. Right. And it just depended on who would bite.
Yeah. When did you realize the Phillies were one of the teams interested?
Realized they came out to Michigan. We did a workout because I had the state semi the next day, so I couldn't go out there. So they had to come in town. I remember I was talking with them, and then there was a very high interest. And then I remember during the draft, it was around pick 24, 25. But going in, it was like, hey, your draft's going to start at pick 27. In our eyes, like, hey, when the Phillies pick, that's when our draft kind of starts, and it started and ended there. Luckily, because love this place, but
it wasn't much of a wait after that.
No, yeah, but it was 24th, 25th pick. Got a call from my agent, hey, they're thinking about taking you here. Just keep your phone on. 5 seconds later, after I hung up, called back, hey, you're going to be Philadelphia Philly, and that was that.
What it seems like the best fit? Because you said you love it here. Like, what is it about the Phillies and you that work so well together?
The way they care, you know. Philly fans, there's something else. I love them. You know, I love the energy they bring, and I love how much they care. And then, like, you see the Eagles fans, and like everyone's like, oh, they're crazy. But I love that. Like, I love fans that care. That and just this organization, the way they develop and everything else is a perfect fit.
And then here in Reading and Jersey Shore, I mean, you're always around Philadelphia in general.
Oh, yeah.
Just what have you learned about just the area?
It's a great group of people. You know, down in Jersey, great fans. Here, great fans. They show out. There's nothing really that I can say bad about.
And now that you are at AA and have established yourself, how close do you feel? I mean, it's not that far of a drive, obviously, but it's also not that far of a call.
Yeah, you know, once you get to AA, they usually say you're a call away. So knowing that in the back of your mind, just take every day, just go day by day and don't really think about it too much, but I think I'm pretty close and I'm ready.
Are you somebody who allows yourself to envision what an MLB debut will be like, or does the WBC experience kind of like, I don't know, not replace that, but you've gotten a taste of it already?
Oh, yeah, that kind of put in perspective, like, hey, this is what the energy is going to be like, this is what the atmosphere is going to be like, but, you know, when you dress up, you see that debut patch on you, and you just, that's going to be a special day. I haven't really envisioned that much, but I'm ready for it.
All right. That's all I had for you.
Introducing Taco Bell's new jalapeno citrus salsa with bright citrus, real red jalapenos, guajillo chiles. Usually, you add sauce to the food, but when the sauce is this good, the food is just there to get the sauce to your mouth. That rolled quesadilla, not a rolled quesadilla anymore. Now it's a sauce shovel. Taco Bell's jalapeno citrus salsa. Get it with any item on the Cantina Chicken menu while it's here. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. While supplies last. Contact store for availability.
Wrapping up the Show Before the Show podcast this week, I am back with Benjamin Hill. And as we said earlier in the show, we're going to wrap up by talking about some dudes. We're not going to do America's favorite segment, Name That Dude, because it's just the two of us, though I will leave a space in here later for Tyler to throw in a dude for himself. But we're going to return to a format of Name That Dude that we sometimes do when it's just the two of us. What we'll do is I am going to name a team. Ben is just going to remember a dude from that team from over the years. Can be any era. That makes sense. Whatever comes to mind. And then he will volley right back at me, name a team. I will name a dude, and we will go as such. So Ben, my team for you is, you know what? I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about the San Diego Padres that much in depth. So let's go with the Padres. Who comes to mind for the Padres?
Diego Padres. I mean, often when I'm recalling dudes, I go back to the 80s baseball cards. And I would say, how about Gary Templeton? Do you remember Gary? Do you remember
Sure.
Gary Templeton?
Sure, yeah.
I remember being interested in his baseball card as a kid. And as I recall, he hit a lot of triples. I feel like he was a guy, a lot of stolen bases and a lot of triples. And that is why I remember him, because on the back of those Topps cards, league leaders, a little diamond next to it, it was a tie. And I always liked looking at players' cards when they led the league in various things. And look at that, 1977, 1978, 1970. Led the league in triples 3 straight years with 18, 13, and 19, respectively. Now it's looking like, that was with the Cardinals.
That was with the Cardinals. He did
Yes.
play a long time with the Padres, but never, like, by the time he got to San Diego in 1982, that triples magic had pretty much gone away.
Yeah, after hitting 19 in 1979 with the Cardinals, he never hit more than 8 triples, which is 9 triples. It's a decent number. And with the Padres, he played on the Padres from 1982 through 1991 and was not the triples machine he once was, but a regular player throughout all those years. Just a solid dude. And I was too young to remember him on the Cardinals, and I don't think I really remember actually watching him on the Padres, but I just flashed to those baseball cards, and I think of a dude who hit a lot of triples. Look at that 1979 season with the Cardinals, 211 hits, 19 triples, hit 314, OPS is 790. He also led the league in caught stealing in 1977. That's pretty rough when you only have 28 stolen bases, caught stealing 24 times.
That would never be allowed. This is why stolen bases went down for a while. We had to encourage them back because people were worried about efficiency.
Yeah.
You basically had to steal bases at a 75% clip to get any sort of green light. The fact that he was basically stealing them at a 50-50 shot
clip, yeah.
At the same time, like you said, he had 18 triples. So the speed was clearly there. I don't know if his instincts were bad, if he was being sent on the wrong. The other thing that stands out to me here in 1977, 644 plate appearances. He walked 15 times.
Wow.
The man was up there to swing and run.
Yeah.
And he certainly did that. Age 21 season. So he was certainly on the young side. Changed it around as he went up. But in 1977, an average of 322, an on-base percentage of 336.
Yeah.
What a different time.
Yeah, really different time. And wow, has a player ever had 644 plate appearances and had that many at bats? 621? To have only 23 times he came to the plate that didn't register as an at bat. So he only had 23 times out of 644 plate appearances, which he was walked, hit by a pitch, or a sacrifice fly or sacrifice bunt, right? Like that's nuts.
1979. I mean, we don't have the walk rates in front of me. Maybe I should look those up. But 696 plate appearances, 672.
Same thing. This guy was an at-bat machine, man.
Yeah. All right. So Gary Templeton, consider yourself remembered here in the Name That Dude segment. Ben, give me a team name.
Let's go to Canada. Toronto Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue Jays. Okay. You know who I'm going to bring up here, and it isn't, there's some big names that have played for the Blue Jays over the year. Tony Batista.
Batista.
If you played with a wiffle ball bat at 90s or 2000s, Tony Batista was one of the guys that you were trying to emulate, uh, at least in terms of and he didn't play very long in Toronto, right? Like 1999, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
But he just had that such a unique stance that you would try to emulate. Just be like, working for a major leaguer, should I try it? And you'd be like, I don't get this. It never made sense to me, exactly how it all came together for Tony Batista. But it makes so much sense in my brain that he was with the Toronto Blue Jays from 1999, 2000, and 2001. He also went to the Baltimore Orioles after that.
It looks like he had his best season with the Blue Jays in 2000 with those 41 home runs, 114 RBIs, OPS of 827. He was on the top of his game, but yeah, he bounced around. I would never have been able to name all these teams he played for. Oakland, Arizona, Toronto, Baltimore, Montreal, Minnesota, and Washington between 1996 and 2007.
And I suppose I should actually explain what his stance was. YouTube clips now. He would essentially be like perpendicular to the pitcher.
Yeah.
Like there's wide open stances, and then there's a man who is just looking right at the pitcher. And then he would lean towards home plate and then swing his left foot. I should speak into the mic here, towards the plate. So it was a whole operation. There's a lot of moving parts, and I've talked to hitting coaches and just talked about in general. The more moving parts you put into a swing, the more things can break down, the more difficult it can be. But for whatever reason, it worked for him. And apparently at one point, MLB Network did all-time batting stances, and Tony Batista was number 2.
Whoa.
I wonder if like Craig Counsell was number 1. I'm trying to think of like who could unseat him at number 1. I'll have to look that up. Julio, maybe. But yeah, Tony Batista, a relatively short time with the Toronto Blue Jays, but he did make an all-star team with them in 2000, as you said, Ben, with those 41 homers. And that's just where my brain went. I guess, like have an interesting swing and you're going to latch onto a 9-year-old, 10-year-old Sam's brain. And if you're doing it, and it's like, that's also.
Yeah, I mean, that's about the era of my life I went to is sometime in the later 80s, looking at baseball cards. That sticks with you the most.
So kids at home, I wouldn't recommend trying Tony Batista's swing in game, but if you're having some fun in the backyard, just give it a shot. Like maybe there was something there in terms of opening yourself up, launching and pulling the ball with all that momentum. Anyways, just very interesting stuff for Tony Batista.
Yeah. He spent a year in Japan. And if Tyler was here, he could tell us how to pronounce that. Daieei. It's a lot of vowels.
That is not one I know. So we have named 2 players here ourselves. Tyler, I'm going to give you the
Rockies.
We don't need to give Tyler the space to name a Rocky. He does that every week. I'll just say Seattle Mariners. Ooh. Seattle Mariners came to mind. Let's roll with it. Tyler, name a Seattle Mariner.
Boys, I just feel so honored to be brought back for a Name That Dude when I'm across the seas. But I'm going to a pivotal era in Seattle Mariners history, and that is the early 2000s. And a guy who stands out as a great dude from the early 2000s Mariners is Mike Cameron. Remember Mike Cameron? Mike Cameron, this is sort of surprising to me, but Mike Cameron actually only played 4 seasons with the Mariners. He was from 2000 to 2003 with the Seattle Mariners. He had made his debut with the Chicago White Sox in 1995. He was their regular center fielder into 97 and 98. He was with the Reds for 1 season. He was actually traded to the Reds in exchange for Paul Konerko. And then he was traded to the Mariners as part of the deal to get Ken Griffey Jr. to Cincinnati. So a couple of big deals with Mike Cameron. But man, he was so much fun to watch. One of the best center fielders in baseball. He also very nearly became the first player in Major League history, and this ties into something that we talked about a little while ago with the 4-homer game from Joshua Baez. Mike Cameron very nearly hit 5 home runs in a game. Back on May 2nd of 2002, he hit 4. 2 of those came after home runs by Brett Boone. They went back-to-back. They were the first teammates in history to hit back-to-back homers twice in the same inning. That happened in the first. And then after 2 more home runs, he came to the plate in his 5th at bat and lined out to the warning track. He would have had a fifth home run and been the first player in Major League history to do it. 5 for 5 with 5 homers. It's never happened. But he was an all-star in 2001, a couple of playoff appearances. He was a Gold Glove winner in 01 and 03. And Mike Cameron, of course, the father to a major leaguer, Daz Cameron, who is currently over in Korea. Daz Cameron playing in the KBO, but played in the big leagues with the Tigers, the A's, and the Brewers. And now 29 years old, and from his father's hometown, LaGrange, Georgia. And Mike Cameron, Daz Cameron's dad, the dude of this week. But Daz Cameron, if you're still interested in where Daz Cameron is, he's over with the Doosan Bears in the KBO, and I think has been having a pretty solid season. So Mike Cameron, we salute you. Our Mariners dude for this week's episode, naming some dudes.
All right, we're going to find out ourselves when we listen to the show on who exactly that Seattle Mariner was. For some reason, I think it's going to be Jay Buhner, just because of the Seinfeld connection. But we'll find out.
Seems likely.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, thank you to Tyler for editing this episode, putting it together. Thank you to Ben for all his work covering the minor leagues off the field. Thank you to Dante Nori for joining me last week in Double-A Reading. We'll see how things go for him the rest of the year, but getting out to that strong start in the World Baseball Classic, pretty unique conversation there. And thanks to you for listening. We'll join you next week. Maybe it'll be the 3 of us, maybe it'll be the 2 of us, maybe it'll be 1 of us, who knows, but we'll be back with you on the show before the show next week. Catch you then.